Casual Magic has been brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can get cool stuff. Use the code CASUAL to get 5% off of your sale. And then also by Coalesce Apparel, where you can get really cool t-shirts and stuff, and use the code CASUALMAGIC to get 10% off your sale. And by Architect, a deck hosting website that doesn't really sell anything, but they like me and I like them, so kindly use them. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., Coalesce Apparel and Design, and Architect. And they love me, I love them, and I would love for you to also love them so that they can continue to love me. Today, I'm actually really stoked because one of my sponsors is on my show for the first time, and one of my favorite commentators in basically the history of the game, and one of the people who I model myself after. Cedric Phillips, who is the owner and founder and creator of Coalesce Apparel, and also like your favorite commentator from SCG and like everything else, has decided to join me today. Hello, Cedric. Thank you so much. I'm super stoked to have you here.
I am thrilled to finally be here. This has been something I know you've wanted to do for a little while. Schedule in life is busy, then pandemic. Now,
Yeah.
Finding some time to, I guess, fulfill some obligations I wanted to fulfill for a little while. So here I am.
You know what? You told me like 3 days ago, it's like, hey, are you free? And I'm like, you know what? I am now. Let's go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because I had Peace Ali on earlier, about like 30, 40 episodes ago. And we spent time talking about you because of the fact that you and Patrick Sullivan have spent most of your time in my ears for like years and years. Like I used to basically mow the lawn on weekends listening to SCG coverage while you two are just like sitting there telling me about whatever legacy high tide matchup is going on. Because it felt like when my dad would be listening to baseball games doing the, chores on the weekend, I'm just sitting here doing my old man stuff, listening to like vintage Magic. And so I really appreciate all that you have brought to the community. And I realize that times have changed and we don't have those stuff anymore. But it brought a lot of happiness to me for a long time to just be able to sit there and be like, legacy or modern or whatever the hell it was.
Or whatever format we were covering,
Yeah.
or formats we were covering over the course of, oh my goodness, however many shows we did. I actually don't even know the count of the number of shows we did, but
Yeah.
it's triple digits and it's a lot.
And it's
That much
every
I know.
weekend from some random city in the Midwest. And it's like, today, coming to you from like, Tuscaloosa, we're bringing you the SCG Open. I'm like, all right, I have no idea who's there, but it's probably going to be the same 5 people playing. And it's good enough for me. Let's go.
We were in some convention center in some city in the Midwest or Northeast or occasionally in the South. So, we got to see just the best fluorescent lights that you could see.
Eating the most wonderful warmed over hot dogs you can get for $12.
Cold Chipotle, my friend. That's the trick. Or I guess we can call it a trick, I suppose. It's a cheap way to eat lunch.
That is the truth. Man, because I was listening to you on Mark Rosewater's show where you were talking about how you got into this. And what I've always wondered is, as a commentator, your job is to know literally like every format, every deck, every card. How do you prepare for this sort of thing? How would you go about, like, if you knew that you had like a legacy open or something, how would you be able to know that what a John deck looks like versus what people are playing?
Well, when I was doing commentary for Star City for, oh my goodness, 8-ish years, I guess I would say, the ways that I knew or prepared for a show are, I guess I would say, unorthodox in some respects because I came from being a competitive Magic player who just everything in every format, and I switched to doing commentary while still playing some competitive Magic, right? So when I first started in June 2012 doing commentary, I was still a full-time Twitch streamer. I was also still a part-time competitive Magic player, but I actually really kind of given up competitive Magic in like 2011. I was kind of splitting my time doing those things. I would do a show on the weekend for Star City, and then I would switch to streaming whatever I was streaming over the course of the week to entertain people and to make a couple of bucks, whatever. And then when they offered me the content coordinator position, I think in 2013, then you're just immersed in Magic. So you're looking at Magic cards every single day. You're editing 3 to 5 articles a day, helping to publish videos, newsletters, all this other stuff. In a weird way, if you don't know what's in those decks, you're doing something wrong, I
That's
think.
that's fair.
Yeah. So that's really how I guess I would prepare. I wouldn't prepare in the traditional sense that I think people are thinking, which is print off all these deck lists, memorize all these cards, figure out what these cards do. Because I mean, I just know what all the cards do just kind of anyway, because
Right.
I have a really good memory and I have a photographic memory, which is why when I see like the corner of a card, I automatically know what's in someone's hand, which people have commented on when I do coverage. Is how do you always know what's in their hand? They didn't even see their hand yet. I'm like, I don't know. I don't need to see much, and I just know
Yeah,
what
it's
the
like, I
card
saw
is.
the power and toughness and the color, I can figure it out.
Yeah, the casting cost, whatever. It can also only be a certain range of cards that are in their hand too, if it's
Right.
constructed, right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I would say that for the most part, it was never really me as far as decks and cards are concerned, sitting down and scanning over a deck list and being like, I don't know what this card is. I don't know what this card is. I don't know how this deck works. That stuff was all very easy for me. The thing that was, I guess I would say, difficult, for lack of a better term, is just knowing all of the players and knowing all of their accomplishments.
Right.
But that was also kind of easy for me because I was a professional player. I know most of the people, most of the people know me. And when we were doing coverage the way that I had it set up, we were seeing the same faces over and over and over again for the most
Yeah.
part, so that we could grow brands, build familiarity,
Yes.
and all that other stuff. And so it just becomes, oh, it's Reduke again, or it's
Brad
John Rossum
Nelson.
again, or Brad Nelson, whoever it's going to be. So it just, I don't know, it just was kind of easy for me at least.
Yeah, like I was actually going to lead right into that, which is that one of the things I think you guys accomplished the strongest was, even more than the Pro Tour, the SCG level of like high tier players that you would see day in day out, like being able to understand them and get their stories and watch the continuity week to week. I think you did a better job than anybody in the business did in building these people up and giving it, like, I know who Ross Merriam is. I know who, like, all of these people are that are maybe semi-pro to pro level Magic players, but not like, Shuhei level Magic players or whatever. But you guys gave them life and personality in a way that I think Wizards itself has just not been able to do, which is wild to me. But I think that's kind of what made it so, like, Feline Longmore is a player that nobody would ever in a million years know. Maybe just the local store, like, here's this high tide specialist, and she's like now world famous as just like one of the greatest players of one of the most like weird combo decks you're ever gonna find. And that's all because you guys have built this storyline that I followed for years and years and years. And I don't know, I think it was a phenomenal job of taking my tier of Magic player and giving them the same kind of like glow up that you would get from an LSV or from one of these like pro tour like high gloss players. I don't know.
Well, I mean, first of all, I appreciate that, and second, there's a bit of a difference in what we were trying to accomplish and what Wizards was trying to accomplish, right?
Sure.
I will always go on the record and say I think Wizards could have done a better job of building their players, but I would also say that with Wizards and what we were doing, it's a little bit different, right? So
Mm,
Wizards with Pro Tours and stuff, and I'm going to mainly focus on Pro Tours and not Grand Prix or anything like
yeah.
that because Pro Tours are their marquee events. They have a couple of feature match tables, and same with SEG.
Yeah.
There's a very small number of feature match tables, and then there's a finite number of people that you're going to feature that people know
Yes.
on the Pro Tour, right? So if you just think of random names off the top of your head from the Pro Tour, Luis Scott Vargas, I don't know, William Huey Jensen, Brian Kibler, Shuhei
Kai Buddha.
Nakamura,
Yeah.
yeah, Kai, like there's a finite number of people that are incredibly accomplished on the Pro Tour that you just want to feature early in case they get knocked out of the tournament. And if they're doing well in the middle to late stages of the tournament, you want to feature them, right?
Sure.
So, like in a weird way, you kind of cut yourself off in the number of people that you can feature. And I'm not saying the people who were like when they had like the platinum, gold, silver level stuff. I'm not saying like, and this is going to sound like I'm taking a shot at them, but they're going to enjoy this probably. Like Ari Lax, who's a Pro
Yeah.
Tour champion, right? Like I love Ari to death and play the guy for a really long time in Star City. He's incredible at everything Magic related. But if Ari is having a good run and Luis is having a good run,
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
feature Luis. It's not even a
I mean,
decision,
no.
right?
I think even
So
Ari would say that.
yeah, and so it's not even a decision really. And so the people who are having a good run who are like somewhat named players are going to have difficulty getting some camera time, and then people who are not named players who are having their breakout tournament are also going to have a difficult time getting camera time because it's like, yeah, I mean you're having a good tournament, but like this could be a fluke. Maybe you're just running good, whatever. As
Yeah.
opposed to I'm going to feature or they're going to feature someone they really know. The difference with what we were doing is, oh, and also, I guess I'll also say this: the Pro Tour doesn't always have the same people every single time, right? Because it's not an open entry
Right.
tournament. Now,
Yes.
ideally, the same people are going to attend and qualify for the tournament, but that's not always the case. Whatever. Some people don't attend, some people don't qualify,
Sure.
whatever. At the Star Cities that we were covering, because we were building brands and building names, you mentioned Ross Merriam. I can mention Jim Davis, Brad Nelson, who was good on both circuits, obviously, Jerry Thompson, who was very good on both circuits and showed up a lot at the SCG stuff.
Tom
If
Ross.
Yeah, Tom Ross, like if we know these people are going to show up every single time, or a very heavy majority of the time, then it's easy to say, okay, we're definitely going to feature them at some point this weekend. But also for the people whose brands we were building, who weren't really namesake people, who were never, I don't want to say never, but it was extremely unlikely they were going to break through on the Pro Tour and get the feature match coverage that, again, the big names of the Pro Tour get. Okay, great. They can come to the SCG circuit. They can build their brand that way. They can show up every single tournament or close to it. And if they show up and are winning, it incentivizes us to cover them and it
Sure.
incentivizes them to continue to come back. So, like in a weird way, we were trying to accomplish both parties are trying to accomplish the same thing, but Wizards is um I guess I'll say kind of hamstrung.
Yeah.
And
Constrained.
who Yeah, they're a little constrained in who they can feature. We would have a wider swath, but at the same time, we were doing the exact same thing insofar as we're featuring the same names as well, but we know that everyone that we're featuring is going to show up to these open events because
Yeah.
they're open entry
Like they're going to
every
be in
single time.
Memphis and in Charlotte and in Roanoke and in Worcester, and they will
Correct.
be there week in, week out. You don't know if PVDDR is going to be in Tokyo this week or he's going to be in Berlin next week or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and that's what makes it a little easier for what we were doing then. So the brand building and everything, and for what it's worth, we also incentivize them to go to every single event, right? Because
Right.
like they wanted to qualify for the Players Championship. The system was set up in such a way that hey, you need to go to every event or close to it, because that's the easiest way to qualify for the Players Championship. And also they just wanted to play Magic too, so they were incentivized by good tournaments, good coverage, building their brand, everything. So we got them to go to basically every single thing that we wanted them to, which was kind of the goal. And I think they were happy with that as well. So it was kind of win-win for ideally everybody involved.
Yeah, and I mean, from an audience perspective, it was just cool. It was just really fun to be able to hear these decks go week in, week out, hear the growth. I mean, it was like watching college football, right? Like you get the kind of same vibe, oh, week in, week out. Oh, look, these guys are doing great this week. Oh, they had a bad week. Oh, they had a good week. And it gives you that same, it turned Magic into a sport for me in the way that like they would be for somebody who cares about sports. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, which isn't to say I didn't care about sports, but it's good during hockey season or like, during seasons of sports I don't care about to have SCG on the weekends when I can't watch my hockey or my basketball. Um, but I think like you had a very unique voice and because you definitely have the cadences of a sports commentator and you have like the ability to tell this story. I mean, I don't want to spend the whole hour just pumping you up because I think you're amazing and I'm a big fan, but I think you're amazing. I'm a big fan. That said, what I'm curious about, and this is going to be a weirdly rough transition.
Oh, I can't
Um,
wait.
yeah, well, basically, the thing is like right now, the reason people know you beyond the fact that you show up on like, Wizards coverage and stuff is because you run one of the coolest t-shirt companies in our like actually maybe one of the only non-Wizard branded like apparel and stuff company
Yeah,
for
like Wizards non-licensed apparel company for the game of Magic.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's cool though. And
yeah.
like every time I wear one of these shirts, people are like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And I mean, dude, when I was in Richmond and I walk in the door and I see 8 people wearing my shirt and like the booth has no stickers left and I'm just like, "This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Holy crap." Um, how what why? Why did you come up with like it's hard to say like, "Hey, you know what? I sit and commentate on this game every week. I'm gonna start a t-shirt company." Like that doesn't flow. How do you get from here to there?
Well, I had this idea starting in like 2014 or 2015, about making merch around the professional level players that were working for Star City at
Mm,
the time. And that is based off of that idea was based off of me following and being a huge follower of WWE. And basically, all of these superstars for WWE have
right.
merchandise that has
That's
their
true.
name on it or their catchphrase on it or their logo on it or something, right? And then they wear it to the ring. and in appearances and everything. And then people buy the merchandise from WWEshop.com to support their favorite wrestler. Okay, cool. Let's mimic that. We had at that time when professional play was a bigger deal and being a big name player was a big deal. We had Jerry Thompson on our roster and
Mm.
Brian Kibler and Patrick Chapin and all these other people, right? And so Chapin did a pretty good job of monetizing himself with like the album that he did and the books that he did and everything like that. So that stuff worked out well for him. And so I was just like, people like shirts and people want to support people by buying merchandise and stuff. It's cool, whatever. And so I basically pitched the idea, and it didn't really get any traction, obviously, because it never happened. Okay, cool, that happens, sure. It just didn't seem like it was something that at the time Star City was interested in financially or
Mm.
logistically. And so, I kept pushing for it. It really didn't go anywhere, and that's okay. Not all your ideas are going to get taken. And so I always kind of kept it on the back burner of like, I think this is a thing. If no one's going to do this thing, I'm not going to wait for someone to do it. I'll just do it myself. So,
Fair.
that is how the idea came to be born. As far as executing the idea is concerned, my one of the people who works for me, my friend Christian, has worked in apparel for a very long time and is also kind of like a sneakerhead and knows a lot about just like random apparel brands that do well, like Antisocial Social Club and Supreme and stuff like that. And he's grown up around the apparel industry for a very long time in his life. So when I had the first idea to actually launch our first shirt, which was our Attack You Gruel shirt, and that's just like a running joke between my friends. I was like, "Hey, is this thing you think we can do?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know how to do like all of these things. I have the T-shirt company, like the printing companies to work with. I know how to get the blanks and all that other stuff." And I'm like, "Cool, let's give this a shot and see how it goes." And so like the first shirt did like whatever, it did fine, nothing special, nothing notable. But I think the big thing was like we were having fun doing it,
Mm.
which counts a lot for me. And then two, we had, and I say we, but he had a lot of ideas. Well, he had a lot of good ideas. I had ideas too, but they weren't that good. And so I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to see where this goes. I think there's a market for this. Also, I'm a really big fan of filling holes in markets that just don't exist. It's like my favorite thing to do.
Fair.
And so like there isn't really a big market for there, well, at the time, I guess I'd still say now, based off of market share, but like there isn't really a lot of merchandise for Magic. Magic is a
There
game.
sure isn't. There's
Yeah,
deck boxes and sleeves.
yeah, Magic is a game that has roughly 20, 30, 40 million people who play at this point. I don't know the number. Obviously, Wizards of the Coast has a better idea of the number than I do,
And they're
but
not telling us.
yeah, but I'm going to say I used to say 20 million, but given the influx of Commander and Arena, I'm going to say 30 million people that play. Okay, just
Sure.
a random guess. Great. So let's assume that they have 30 million people that play, and yes, they sell deck boxes. Third parties sell deck boxes and sleeves. You can get Ultra Pro and Dragon Shield, and everybody knows where they can get all that other stuff. But you can't buy apparel really for the game. It's not really marketed in any meaningful way. There are apparel companies that do things, right? MTG Pro Shop, that was run by Steve Port and is licensed through Wizards of the Coast, that has now been purchased by Ultra Pro. Congratulations, everyone involved. They have a partnership with like a shirt company called Brain Dead. You could
Yeah.
probably search on
Weird
Amazon.
clothes.
Yeah, you could probably search on Amazon and find some Magic stuff. But like, really, if you were like, "Hey, I want to buy some cool Magic stuff," like it's kind of a struggle, and
It
that's
really is.
stupid because the brand is enormous, the IP is really cool, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. So,
Give me a bumper sticker. Where's my goddamn 5-color bumper sticker? Really? Come on,
yeah,
Magic.
like
This is easy.
I'm not a genius. I would never claim to be a genius. I never think I'm the smartest person in the room. I just pay attention. And
It's like this is low hanging fruit.
pretty much. And so nobody else was doing it. And Christian is very smart when it comes to apparel and kind of like what's kind of hip and cool. And maybe we can put a Magic spin on it. And then I have an incredibly talented creative director named Ray Dill,
Mm.
who's just really, really good at drawing. He did your shirt and many
Yeah, I'm a
others.
big fan.
And he's immensely talented and loves developing and building things from scratch and just taking ideas from idea to fruition. So I get the opportunity to work with him every single day. And now it's just we've got a million ideas and let's make some stuff and see how they work. And so for the first handful of years, because we kind of started it like at the end of 2018, really good timing right before the pandemic started. And I guess 2019 technically, because the pandemic was 2020. So like
Yes.
2019, and then didn't know how we were going to function through the pandemic or anything. Um, and we didn't do like a lot of launches or really move the business in the direction that we've been moving it recently over the past 6 months, almost 7 months now
Yeah,
this
it
year.
feels like after the return of GP Vegas, you guys have just started showing up everywhere now.
Yeah. So once real life events have come back, not to say we can't be successful as just an online store, but once real life
Sure.
events have come back, that really changed the game for us because, and you mentioned CFB Vegas, that's really kind of been the catalyst where we were sharing a booth with a local game store there in Las Vegas who we're friends with named Darkside Games. So shout out to them. And they had a little like
Like
eight by
back
two
corner.
they had an 8x2 table for us in their booth for us to use, right? And like we're in like the back corner of the venue. You probably remember this.
Yeah.
And we're facing like an air wall, so it's like our location is awful. And we have a table for our shirts. At this time, we don't have nearly as many shirts as we do now. And it's just like, okay, well, Darkside gave us this space for like $1,000, and let's just see what we can do. So I think we did like 10,000 in sales that weekend,
Jesus
which
Christ.
which really kind of like blew our mind because we were just like, our location sucks, we have no space, and there's really no way to draw attention to us. But when people would just walk around the venue, and Vegas had a lot of people at it in November,
Mm-hmm.
people would just walk around, and then the same thing that happened there happens at every show we go to now, which is, for the people who don't know us, they look at our stuff and they go, oh, that's cool, oh, that's cool, oh, that's cool, and then they go, how much does a shirt cost? And I could say any number in the world, and they'd be like, okay, cool, I'll buy one.
Because we're
Um,
Magic players. We're used to paying $50 for a goddamn card. I'll pay $10 for a shirt or whatever.
Correct. So it's like shirts are $28, and hoodies are like $53, and it's like, cool, I'll take like this shirt, and like maybe this sticker or whatever. And it's like awesome, and they walk away with their stuff, and they're happy, and obviously I'm happy, and everyone's happy with the transaction. Um, and now we have made a sale, and ideally a customer for a very long time, and that's honestly it. Now there's all these command fests that are happening. There's these SCG cons that are happening that we're attending, and it's just been a total blast.
Yeah, man. It's been amazing because, like, first off, when I was at Richmond and your booth was front and center right by the door. So
Yep.
people walk in and literally have to walk around your booth to get inside, which is, I am surprised Star City allowed them to put that there, but
Well,
that's,
they do the floor plan.
yeah, I know. And I
We
was
don't do
like,
the floor
that's
plan.
rad. Let's go with it. I'm not going to complain. Because I was able to point so many people there to buy my sticker because they couldn't buy my shirt because it was sold out. Best news ever.
That's
Um,
true.
yeah.
It is back in stock now.
You know what? I'm very happy. A friend of mine texted me from DreamHack saying, I was able to buy your t-shirt. And I'm like, sweet, let's go. Um, dude, I don't know. I love it. I mean, what makes me happy is how many in-jokes there are that are also just funny if you don't understand Magic. But
Yes.
just that's the kind of thing like, I mean, I realize I'm speaking to you who also understands why this is funny, but I love having magic related apparel that's not just blatantly magic. Just like my favorite ones are the Soto ones, where it's like, Nicol Bolas's logo. It's like, okay, that's from far away, it's a Coke shirt. Close up, if you're a nerd, you get it, and if you're not, you're like, I'm okay, whatever, weirdo shirt. But it's not just like brought to you by Wizard of the Coast. Here's the Planeswalker symbol, and here's like all the Planeswalkers I need to have for my branding purposes, because their shirts kind of suck. Like, just in terms of like design and stuff, they're just like look like box art rejects that are just thrown up there, and you could do better than that, Watsy. You really can.
Well,
Um,
it's just they're targeting the thing that Watsy is doing with their apparel. I will say this, and I've said it before on a different podcast, but they're targeting their audience incorrectly. So, as an example, like it's not that their IP can't work on a shirt and be successful because we've seen that, right? If you think about Batman, people just wear shirts with the Batman logo. They don't
that's
mind,
true.
and it's like kind of cool, right? Or any of the Marvel characters, Iron Man, Captain America, anyone from the Avengers. Sure, I mean, also
Fine.
kids just love that stuff. I'm sure you know,
I'm
right?
familiar.
Yeah, right. You got a young one, so kids just eat that stuff up. They want that on a backpack. They want it on a lunchbox. They want it on
Yep.
who knows what. I don't have any kids, so I don't know what kids are buying nowadays. But maybe an iPad cover or a phone cover. Who knows, right? But yeah, you can just put Captain America's shield on something, and people want to buy it. Okay, great. And that works for that brand with how that brand has been built. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what side you're on, that has not taken place in Magic with the Planeswalker symbol. It hasn't taken place in Magic with like any of the
I would buy a
Planeswalkers.
keychain with a Planeswalker symbol on it right now. right?
Okay.
Like, but it doesn't exist.
Well, that I didn't know, and I know there are some people who like the Planeswalker symbol, and there are some people who don't like the Planeswalker symbol.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but
So I don't know how powerful those particular items are for the game.
sure,
I have my thoughts and opinions because I'm a person who has those things. But you know, how many
gasp.
people do want a Planeswalker keychain or like Planeswalker sleeves or something like that? Like they have so many cool characters that they could build out and make cooler. Planeswalkers, legendary creatures, every commander that people
Right?
play. And they haven't really done that yet, which I'm thankful for because I'm doing it. So until they choose to or find the right people to do so, I don't know. We can just keep doing it. So
I mean, I loved, for instance, the fact that you have the Praetorian Man version of Atraxa sitting there in like the Leonardo da Vinci pose.
yeah,
Or, I mean, this stuff it makes me happy because it's so clever and also in jokey and also just hits exactly the type of people that we are, right? Like, and it gives me something to put on my quiver, which is woefully understickered right now. Um, but I mean, I think that, and especially with more commanders, more command fests, and the sheer amount of commander players there are who want, like, commander players, people like to, like, poo poo us as being like, oh, you're the, the back end of magic. You don't play real magic or whatever. I'm like, you know what we do? We spend our money buying blinged out crap for our decks. And then
that's
we get
true.
like matching deck boxes and t-shirts and stuff. So if you like start marketing to people for their commander, you have no idea how many people who are dedicated to playing that goddamn Atraxa deck that will wear an Atraxa t-shirt and put it in their Atraxa binder, like,
Well, I have an idea.
I mean, you
Maybe
you know.
the listener doesn't know, but I am very aware, which is why we have an entire line dedicated to Commander, our Keeping It
Yeah.
100 line, because when we made our first set of those, which was Atraxa. I'm gonna see if I can actually remember the first three that we did. I know Atraxa was the first one, and Ray drew that one. So it was Atraxa, I think the Gobfather,
Yeah,
and
Krenko.
Muldrotha, which maybe it was Muldrotha. I have to look really quick because this is going to bother me if I don't know for sure. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was the Godfather, Muldrotha, and Atraxa.
Yeah.
Um, because, and this is just low hanging fruit. I don't really care if anyone knows this, but like all you have to do is go to EDH Rec and see what the most popular commanders are. Uh, and that's just where you start for designing. So
That's fair as hell, man.
yeah,
I was
that's
gonna
just
ask,
public
like,
info.
how did you come up with this? Oh, gee, you use the easiest, most available information there is. Okay, well, fine then. Damn. I feel dumb now for even thinking about that. I was like, why would you pick these? Like, I did laugh though when I saw you guys put out the Scott Pilgrim Golos sticker, and then like we had to ban Golos like a few
Yeah.
months later, and I was like, oh, that's a tough one. It's a cool
Yeah.
sticker, but
So if you go to EDH Rec, because I'm on it right now on a different monitor, if you go to EDH Rec and like the top of the website has cards, commanders, sets, and themes,
yeah.
you click the commanders drop down menu and you click on top commanders and it shows you the top commanders for the past 2 years.
Hmm.
That's basically what I just do my research off of. So number one has been Atraxa. It has 10,722 decks, rank one. Yuriko's number two, so we made our Ninjutsu shirt out of that. Kenrith is number three, so we made our Hail to the King shirt out of that. Lathro, Blade of the Elves, we haven't thought of a good idea for that one yet. We haven't thought of a good idea for Corvold. We have like a decent idea for Edgar Markov that we haven't executed
Give
on
me an
yet.
Dragon shirt, man.
Yeah, so the fun thing about this, the fun thing about this process is so just how you just said that, right? You're like, give me an Dragon shirt. It's like everyone has their favorite commander or
I'm,
commanders, plural,
I mean, if I was
right?
gonna give you my favorite, I'd be like, give me a Tajik, but you're not gonna give me a random Dragon's Maze legend as a, a
Well,
T-shirt. That's not gonna
I don't
happen.
know. I don't know what the demand is. Maybe we will. Maybe we can
It's
think of a
me.
creative
It's
idea.
literally me.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But like, so it's like, give me an Dragon shirt. It's like, okay, well, I'm interested in doing an Dragon shirt. It's ranked 7 over the past 2 years. Now it's like, okay, we need to make something that's dragon related, that's also 5-color related, and also has like a crossover with something because
Yeah.
that's just kind of the space that we play in. So like, I have in our internal threads. Just like, hey, we need to make a Lathwell shirt. We need to make a Corvold shirt. We need to make an Dragon shirt. I've heard a lot of people are like really big fans of like Maren of Clan Neltoth. You can tell I don't play Commander.
Marin, yes.
Yeah, Marin. There you go. So said it wrong. Perfect. And like Asika, God of the Tree, and like there's all
Ugh.
these commanders. Like Chatterfang because people love squirrels. So there's
Look,
all this space for us to mine.
let me give you a secret that you will make $1 billion off of,
I like
because
billions.
maybe not a billion, but you will make a significant amount. First off, Alesha, who smiles at death, is
Okay.
maybe one of the most popular commanders of all time, especially among like queer people and trans people and stuff like that.
Sure.
Every trans person I know has an Alesha deck. She is like the iconic, like she's never going to be a top 10 commander, but she's one of the ones that you will see at every show. There will always be 3 or 4 or 5 people with it. You make anything Alesha related, I guarantee you, especially if you put it in like trans color or something, it will sell like anything you've ever seen. That's a free one for Pride Month.
Well, I mean, I would definitely want to do something like that and make sure I'm hitting the right notes and work with that community
Yeah,
to make sure that we're doing it right. Because I don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it, but
right.
I totally get it. And I imagine that it would do
Representation
well.
matters, man. It's
Representation is a very big deal to me, very big deal to me. But I also want to include those folks in the design of something like that to make sure that we are hitting the right notes and
right.
doing things appropriately and giving things the appropriate level of thought. So,
Yeah,
um, and
man.
that's how I feel about a lot of this stuff. Is just there's a lot of space to mine, and we are having fun doing so.
Relatedly, and since I don't want to sit here, and I know that if we keep going down this path, I'm going to keep being like, so where's my Titania t-shirt? And I don't want to do that
Mm-hmm.
because you don't need to have more unsolicited ideas from me. Um, but one thing that is actually very important to me is that you know this as well as I do. I'm one of the like I'm an Indian guy. I'm very easily identifiable within any magic space, especially now in my position in commander and stuff. Like people know me from a mile away, and I get messages all the time from folks who are like, "I'm so grateful that you, a brown dude, are here repping magic and being yourself and all these things. All the things that we hear." But before me was you. You were one of the few like non-white, non-Japanese people I saw playing Magic at the highest possible levels, and I can't tell you how much that meant to me, let alone to all the other minorities I know, to see like one of us is at the top of the game. Not only that, but you were running the show. And what's it been like for you this past decade or so, just knowing that you are the most prominent black dude in Magic? And like let's be honest, your name and your face and your just being here is so important to so many people in our community, and it's got to like mean something. I mean, what's it felt like, or like, because I know people must have come up to you over the years.
Yeah, so people come up to me over the years. I don't really. It's kind of an interesting thing for me personally because I guess in my 20s, and I would even say in my early 30s, but definitely in my 20s, I never really thought of myself that way.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, you don't like. There's no reason to. I mean, until people started bringing it up to me, it didn't occur to me that this is a thing that mattered to anybody.
Correct. So, like, to be very clear and transparent, um, I was, and still pretty consistently am, like one of the only black people in Magic Tournament or something like that. Very much in like my high school and college days in my late 20s. Obviously, things have changed and the game has gotten more diverse
Yeah.
in a myriad of ways, which is awesome. We're seeing folks of different genders and different colors and everything, and that's I love that. I love that the game has grown that way because I've been around this game for I'm 36, so I mean, yeah, 20 years of competitive-ish player going to convention centers and stuff. And obviously, it was not like this at the jump.
No, it
Uh,
sure as hell wasn't.
no, it wasn't at even a little. So to see these changes have been great. I guess I would say never strong, but I guess I would say I don't ever think of myself as like I am the
Representative of your people.
that you said that very well. I don't ever think of myself that way. Maybe that's something that needs to change a little bit, and
It's
something I
also,
can work
I mean,
on.
look, it is cliche. I get it, and it's really like nobody needs that kind of pressure or like that kind of just like ego. But at the
Yeah,
same
because
time,
I just think of myself as I'm just me.
yeah,
A lot of the time, and like I'm not ignoring the fact that I'm black. Far from it. In fact, I'm actually over time and over the past couple of years, especially in light of Black Lives Matters, I'm actually beginning to embrace it a lot more than I ever have in my life because I'm learning a lot as I go, especially over the past couple of years. But yeah, I've just never really thought of myself that way. I think of myself as more of like I'm just a person who tries to do the right thing and is pretty outspoken and not. I know I can't swear in this podcast. Not afraid to tell anyone to f off if I feel like
right,
that's what I need to do. So
sure,
I look at myself as more of that person of like I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm gonna say what I need to say, regardless of like who I work for or anything like that. And I see myself as representing that kind of person more than the representation of my color. But I'm a lot more cognizant now than I was, I would say, 5 years ago, of the fact that, yeah, I am a leading
Prominent.
voice in this game, and I also I'll give you a perfect example. You said that you're on Wizards official coverage. I don't really think about that often. I just don't. Like, I'm the only black person on coverage. I know that, but like I don't really think about it. It doesn't change my behavior at all. But and there's sometimes where I'm just like, yeah, I guess that's true. I guess I
Mm,
am. Okay. Like I'm always going to set out to do the best job possible.
sure.
But there's a lot of times where I'm just like, I'm doing so much stuff. I'm so busy, whatever, that I don't ever stop and think and be like, representation, very important. Got to do a really good job. I'm always going to try to do a good job anyway. Some people are going to see me and be like, hey, that's awesome. I want to strive to be that person or be in those positions. But again, it's something I think about more now than I did before.
Right. Like, I mean, I think about this more than I used to because, like, it used to be I would just like, I'm just another Vorthos or I'm just another commander player. Who cares? La la la. And I live in California where there's like just people of color all over the place playing Magic. That's just a thing we do. But it's like when I started leaving California to play Magic in other places, I'm like, oh, it's not like that over here. There is no one. It's just me. And then when people like during Kaladesh, for instance, which is when I became known in the community because I was like, hey, you guys totally boffed my entire culture and maybe don't do that. Um, and people would be like, holy crap, another Indian dude plays Magic. And then they're like,
Sure.
people are listening to you and you've got a position and you're talking and you're not just like spouting garbage. And I'm like, oh. Does that mean I have a responsibility now? But at the same time, I'm like also a priest and I'm a social justice dude and I'm a progressive priest for Hinduism, which means I got a global audience on my other Twitter feed where people are paying attention to me for like very heavy weighted conversation. And so coming back to Magic, it's like, oh, I guess I have to bring some of that over here, but I just want to play cards. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm also like a representative with a flag in my hand, being like, so that's why, like, when I saw my face on a T-shirt, I was just like, "Holy I made it!" Right? Like, oh
Sure.
my god,
Sure.
like that's me as Mario. That's the sweetest thing I've ever seen in my life. Um, but yeah, it's just the sort of thing that, like, after 2016, suddenly it became important to be a prominent brown dude in Magic for some reason. What could have happened?
Well, I'm thinking of an interaction I had too. Right now, I had an interaction. So a couple of notes. One, I grew up in a predominantly white suburb. Plenty of people know that. I don't want to say
Well,
plenty
that's why you
because
listen to stuff that like I do, like Paramore.
well, I just listen to them because they're awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
I grew up in a predominantly white suburb in the suburbs of Ohio, and so it is not so where it might be unfamiliar for someone else who is black to walk into a Magic convention and see like all white people and no one that looks like them. That's basically been my entire life.
Yeah,
Between where I grew up, where I went to school, Purdue, living in Seattle, in the suburbs of Seattle and everything like that, and but just like who like all of my friends are, who are predominantly most of my friends are predominantly white as well.
yeah,
It's never been weird to me
right.
to like be the only black person at a thing or in a room or whatever. It's just actually just been my life experience the entire time. So I can understand where if someone who is maybe black that comes from like New York or an inner suburb or whatever, right? It's just like, oh, there's like no other black people here. And so what actually happened, I was covering a oh god, what, a Mythic Championship. That's what they were branded as. Yeah, it feels like forever ago. A Mythic Championship in 2019 in Vegas, and I was going through security, and there was another one of the security guards was black. I think it was like the second day of us doing rehearsals before all the players got there and everything. And he's like, what is this game? I'm like, oh, it's this card game called Magic. And he's like, what's the deal with that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, giving everybody the same answer. It's like Dungeons and Dragons. It's like a mix of Dungeons and Dragons and poker. And there's, like a fantasy element to it and a hidden card aspect to it. And, it's just a card game that people play. And like, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. And he's like, not a lot of people, looks like not a lot of people like you and me play this game. I'm like, no, not at all. And he's like, why not? And I thought about it for a minute.
Hmm.
And this is actually a fun moment for me. I was just like, so here's the deal. Like, this game is expensive. And this is a game, and I've said this on social media before. I've always felt, and well, I've certainly felt over the past at least 5 years, probably more than that now, though, that Magic is a luxury hobby.
Hmm.
It's not cheap to play. I think we all know that. Whether people like that or not doesn't really matter, because I like to operate in the reality that we live in, not the reality that we want to live in. Magic is expensive.
Fact.
Yeah, period. End of sentence. It is a luxury hobby. Period. End of sentence. And so I was like, here's the deal. This game is expensive to play. Um, by and large, if you're just looking at numbers, the ability for someone who is black to play this game is less than the ability for someone who is white to play this game. That's just a fact. Again, this is the reality that we live in, not the reality that we want to live in. That's how I operate in life. And I was like, it is much more reasonable for someone who is a person of color to be able to play a sport like baseball or basketball or something where you need one object to play, right? You want to play
Right.
basketball, you have a basketball, you probably need some shoes, but technically you don't even need shoes. It would be worse to play without shoes, but you need a pair of shoes, a ball, and like a park that has a hoop, and go. Right? If you want to
Right.
play baseball, you need a mitt, you need a bat, you need a ball. Like, for someone who is of lower income, it is easier for a parent to probably just go, yeah, I'll buy you a bat, a ball, and a mitt, as opposed to a booster pack. Oh, you want another booster pack?
Oh no.
Oh, you want another
50
booster
booster
pack?
packs.
Oh, you want all these booster packs to build your deck? That's not going to happen. Sorry, as much as I would like to give that to you, I can't give that to you. Okay, great. That's understood. That's kind of just economics, whatever. And so when I was explaining this to the person, he's like, "Oh, that makes sense." I'm just like, "Yeah." So to me, it's not weird to be the only black person in a tournament or be one of few black people in a tournament, because the game is expensive, and so it doesn't actually um, project to people of color all that well, because it is expensive to play. That's just a fact. Um, so again, that's why I'm not, and it's not like I grew up wealthy or anything like that. Grew up in a middle class lifestyle in the suburbs of Ohio. But this is where I want to dedicate my time and everything. And I was very much the person who like didn't have 4 copies of Undermine or Absorb or anything like that. Like, I worked like crazy, saved paychecks, bought cards to play in tournaments and all this other stuff, right? So it wasn't just like my parents were like, "Yo, yeah, we'll buy you 4 of whatever cards you need." It's like, no, you gotta get that stuff on your own, man. So
Yeah.
had friends borrowed all the other stuff. So it just doesn't. It's a game that is, at the end of the day, it is, and more so now than ever before, is a luxury hobby.
Boy, let me tell you, man, growing up middle class in California and being like, "So, mom, I want to buy a pack of cards." And she's like, "Yeah, I'll bet you do. That
Yeah,
must be nice.
yeah,
Sit down." Yeah. We played a lot of D&D in my house because one book is a lot easier to sell my parents on than any number of cards.
yep. I
Um,
believe that. I believe
but
that.
it's like it feels like we've been seeing a lot more influx of people of color playing more Magic lately, which I think is personally a boon to the game. And I love to see it, and I love to see like younger gens of people like, I mean, they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh and crap like that, and now they're coming into Magic, and it's like, all right, well, this is cool. It feels less monolithic because, like, if Magic wants to be an international game, it's got to be an international game. It can't just be Japan, Germany, and America.
Yep.
It's got to be like real, like filling the voids here of like all these people who play this. So I hope we see that sort of thing change more, and I think we have been, especially now. But you're right, though. It's a bloody expensive game. These cards, like double masters, cost my house to buy a pack, right? Like
Yeah.
it's pretty ridiculous. Um, but what are you gonna do? That's WotC. We have decided to put this boat anchor around our necks, so now we got to deal with the consequences of paying for stupid amounts of money for a dockside extortionist.
Look, no
Extortionist
one,
indeed.
no one said you like my
No
stance
one
on this
said
is always my the stance has always been, you don't have to play. Like, obviously Magic is great and it is my career, everything else, but like, there's nothing that says you
yeah.
have to play Magic.
No, it or like one of the things I like to impress on people as a commander player, I'm like, look, there's 30,000 cards in Magic. You don't need this for to play Magic to play
Also
Commander.
true. Also true.
Like you can find the next best or find some weird Mercadian Masks card for a nickel that nobody has thought about that's going to be the combo piece you always wanted.
I
And
agree.
that's even cooler than just using another goddamn ad nauseam combo. But try telling that to Twitter and see what happens. I don't recommend it to anybody.
I don't recommend using Twitter, even though I do every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, this has not been great for my health, but it's also the only thing. So, look, man, somebody's got to listen to my podcast. I got to get it out there. Um, Yeah, man. I don't know. It's been really cool to watch you actually grow and thrive and like find new opportunities for yourself that also bring the rest of us along with you. I think it's fascinating. And people might be wondering, gosh, even you have Cedric on and you're not asking him his full bio data. Well, guess what? You guys can go listen to the Mark Rosewater podcast where he does that, or you can listen to him on Humans of Magic where he does that, or like the 35 episodes of like the podcast he did with Pete Sully where he also tells you all the life story. I don't want to make him reiterate being a hotelier or like working at Red Robin or whatever it is, because those are
Wow, good
awesome
memory.
stories he's already told.
Good memory by you.
Dude, the show you did with Pete Sully, so I was unemployed last June. Like
Okay.
my company got bought, and then they were like, "Peace out, everybody." And I was like, "I've been here for 10 years," and they're like, "Great, here's a severance, get the fuck out." And I'm like, okay. So I took a temp job with my wife's company, and a lot of that meant filing papers at a construction company, which meant listening to a whole lot of receivables while I sit and do the most boring job I've done since I was 12, which is not something I
Okay.
should do at 40, right? But that means listening to you guys go through like Lorwyn cards or whatever the hell. Um, I miss that show, and I would really like you to bring it back because you did leave us hanging with the Lara block.
I
Um,
know.
but I hope someday whatever caused you to stop it unstops, and we get more of those because
Uh,
you and Pete Solly have
The,
such good chemistry.
the cause is merely time,
Oh, I
um,
believe.
which is something that he and I do not have a ton of. So we do get asked, probably individually once or twice a week when the show is going to come back,
It was
and
really good. It was
we
really, really good.
well, thank you, and we appreciate that very much. So it's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when. And there are going to be some changes that do take place to it as well. But between, I mean, I'll just straight up, I'm actually going to look at my phone right now because I want to make sure I get this right because we're recording this. We're recording this on June 27th, which is, it says Monday, almost Tuesday. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, that's 7. That's 8. That's 9. 10. The next 10 weekends I have are accounted for.
Jeez.
I know where I'm going to be every weekend until September 3rd. So
Damn, dude.
when I say that time is a limiting factor, that's what I mean. And I'm pretty efficient. I'm really good at doing multiple things at once. Like after I'm done with this, I'm probably going to fire off like 10 or 15 emails while listening to a podcast, and catching up on Monday Night Raw, which I haven't watched yet today because I have to do I do my wrestling podcast later this week. So it's like I'm going to be doing 3 things at once. And then some people are, well, this is already announced, so whoever knows about this or doesn't know about this, they'll know now. Like I'm doing the LRR
Yeah, the
pre-release.
PPR in Victoria, Canada next
Yeah,
week.
and Victoria with those guys with Loading Ready Run this weekend. So it's like I gotta take another look at those Masters, make sure I know what's going on there, right? So it's not a matter of like, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. Screw this. It's just like, and that doesn't even get into Patrick's schedule of
Yeah,
having,
being like the boss of that company, basically.
yeah, having a prominent role where he works at Direwolf Digital and also being a father to multiple children and everything.
Yeah.
It's just we're just trying to keep up. Whereas previously during the pandemic, when we were doing the receivables, I'm not saying there was nothing to do, but I would argue that there was
A
less to
lot
do.
more time.
Yes, there was less to do. So, and given the way that I would like to alter the show, and Patrick is on board with how I want to alter the show, and I'm purposely not telling people how I want to alter the show, it is a time-consuming endeavor. So
I believe.
it's not if, it's when.
I'm just saying, as a fan, I would love to see it continue because you hit my demographic exactly of people who remember old Magic and also care about like every card in the set.
Yeah.
And so it's like, um, oh man, are you going to be in Orlando?
No, I will not be in Orlando. I will not be in Orlando.
Alas.
I want to say something funny, I guess, which is I asked the fine people that are running Command Fest Orlando if they had space for us, and they said no.
Oh no! Oh no!
So that's why I won't be in Orlando. Now, I don't know if maybe that were to change after this podcast appearance, or anyone wants to pull any levers to have Coalesce at their show, then they can do so. But I inquired and I got a response that they don't have any additional space for Coalesce. So
That's a missed opportunity.
So that's why I will not be at Command Fest Orlando. There
Damn
you go.
How am I going to sell my shirt if there's nowhere for people to buy my shirt?
I know. Now I will be at Command Fest Bellevue that weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was prepared to send one of my team members to Command Force Orlando so we could double that weekend. But again, Orlando could not find a 10 by 10 with 3 tables for lowly old me.
See,
So I
what you got to
won't be
do is
there.
you got to sell T-shirts out of the back of the truck like we used to do.
Oh, there we go. There we
Just
go.
park it outside the con hall. Um, God damn. Yeah, I don't know. See, I know exactly the feeling because I'm going to be at like Orlando. I'm going to be at Gen Con, then Magic 30, and it's like, ooh, these weekends are filling up. But one note for you, I know because I've seen you play Magic before, and you get
Mhm.
the eye of evil right there of just like death focus. I'm going to destroy whoever's on the other side. When you're at a PPR, it's a lot more chill than that.
I believe it or not, I do have the ability to turn it off. I do.
So just don't like turn them to ash. Like,
Yes, yes. Now, when I am competing, when I've paid an entry fee for something and I've
sure.
tested for a tournament, yeah, I'm here to compete. I'm here to win. I am ruthless. But when I'm doing when I'm doing something loading ready run or the episode of game nights that I've done or shuffle up and
That
play with a
was so
prof,
much. Yeah, dude, shuffle and play. Your epic shuffle up and play was so much fun.
yeah,
Like it was delightful.
I can turn off the competitive spirit and just chill out and have some fun. I'm also just not nearly as much of a psychopath as I was in my 20s as I am at age 36. So yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay now.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. Like I was a little cautious. I'm like, oh god, this is a show called Casual Magic. What am I going to talk to him about? He's going to destroy me. But it turns out we can actually talk about all sorts of things.
There are a lot of things in Magic to talk about.
Yeah, like I've been playing for a very long time. I played in tournaments in like in 1995 or 6, and then I realized that my fun is not in tournaments because I'm not a tournament player.
Sure.
um it just took them 30 years to figure out what kind of magic I am good at, though, and here we are now with 35 command fests. So I look forward to seeing the day Cedric Phillips pulls up with 100 cards and seeing what you decide.
See, I so so this is like an interesting problem. And problem is probably not the right word, but so I've been talking to people about this because I know there's like CEDH and there's like different types of commander, right?
Yeah,
And when I do play Magic, I prefer to compete at the highest level, and I also just like to compete in general, and because I like to win.
sure.
Um, so some of my friends who also used to compete at an incredibly high level, but just for whatever reason, I just don't think they're interested in doing that anymore. They have leaned into Commander some, and so I was like, well, how competitive can you be in Commander? Like,
You
because
can be.
yeah, right. Because like so when I go to these Command Fests and everything, one of the things, so and I actually I kind of tweeted something about this, about Command Fest Vegas. So I've been in a million tournaments in my life. It's just some
Yes,
egregiously high number: pro tours, world championships, playing or commentating. Like every type of meta tournament that there exists, I have been to. Okay, and
yes.
this was so I go to Command Fest Las Vegas. It's just a different vibe. Okay, everybody's having a great time.
They're all happy to be there.
They're all happy to be there. No one's complaining about bad beats and mana screw or mana flood or my opponent is a moron and they played so bad. There's none of that. All the things that I'm used to of 15, 20-ish years of competition, people, just all these people playing competitive Magic who just generally just don't look happy.
No, they never do.
Yes. And I was one of them because I wanted to, every time I played, I wanted to win. Right. So anytime I would lose, I would be mostly frustrated up until like, when I turn 30, I'm just like, yeah, actually, I just don't care how I do very much anymore because it's not like my source of income or anything else. I'm just kind of
Yeah,
here to play because I want to play. Okay, whatever. So I go to Command Fest Las Vegas and everyone's just having a good time, whatever. And then I don't know if you saw like the get together that Josh and Jimmy had. They had
I
like a
mean,
get
yeah, they do.
so they had so basically Josh and Jimmy of game nights, they were handing out tickets to people, and it feels like at random, but they'd have to confirm this, not me. They were handing out tickets because they were having because they scheduled a dinner at Fogo in Las Vegas I think it was on Saturday evening. Okay, and so like Josh came up to me and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner tonight?" I'm like, I don't know what's going on." He's like, "Here's a ticket." He gave me a ticket that they had made, and it's like it's for a free dinner at Fogo at 8 o'clock. And I'm like, "Well, who's going?" And he's just like, "There's going to be like 80 people." And I'm like, okay. I mean, like, I'm not the biggest fan of big crowds, but like, I do like Josh and Jimmy a lot. It's a very kind gesture, so I'm gonna go. Okay. So I close at my booth at like 8:05. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be a little late, and he's like, it's cool, whatever. Just get here when you get here. And I get there, and I'm probably one of the last people to get there. And it's a room of like 75 to 80 Magic players, and like there are some big name players like Kibler and Olivia's there, and Elaine. Elaine from Wizards of the Coast is there.
Mm.
Gavin's there. Like, so there's varying degrees of people, right? There's some big name people there, and then there's some people who just got a ticket who are fans of Commander
We're
who are
just happy to
there.
be there.
We're just happy to be there, right? And so I get into this room, I sit down, like one of the few open seats left, and it's just like, man, all these people are just so happy. They're just talking about their commander or commanders and their decks, and it's like me. I kind of don't fit in here. It doesn't really bother me because now I'm just going to like people watching and observing mode, right? I'm just listening to
Sure.
the conversations that people are having, and they're all just so happy about like, how did today go? Well, like I got kind of man screwed some of my games, but like I don't really care because I just played another game and everything. And I'm just like, I would ruin all these people's fun because I'm a psychopath. And so I want to always win in every single thing that I do. So part of the reason I have not really ever played or engaged in Commander is because I know who I am as a person. I'm
Mm.
very self-aware. I don't want to sit down at a Commander table and just be
And
like,
just
hey,
crush people.
I'm here to win. I'm going to make sure none of you have fun. Because that's like the kind of Magic I like to play. Right. So I just look at it and I just go, I can accept the fact that, hey, I think that this style of Magic may not be for me, but I understand that it is for a lot of people, and a lot of people enjoy this, and I would rather not play and let people have a ton of fun as opposed
Yes.
to play and like try to turn off my competitive sensibilities, which leaves me having very little fun.
I have met a lot of like former Pro Tour level players who have been like, okay, well, I should give this commander thing a try. I play Magic, I can do this. And they all come out with like decks that are like, blue black Deathlock control, which is just like 45 counter spells and like hand destruction. I'm like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. And like, look, these are my favorite cards from like the like extended tournaments I used to play. And I'm like, I understand. That's cool. That's what Commander's for. But there are three other people at the table, and we have to consider their feelings. And we're here
Correct.
to make sure everybody's having a good time. And
Correct.
you know, hammer locking the table is not going to accomplish that.
Correct. And I'm very aware of that. And
Yeah.
so I'm just a big proponent of like I don't care to ruin other people's fun
Yeah.
for my own like benefit.
Yeah.
Like
You're
if
not a
I'm in
pub
a
stomper.
yeah, like if I'm in a tournament, I don't care about your fun because we all paid X dollars to
Well,
play.
we have an agreement. One of us is going to win, and who cares?
Correct. Right.
Right.
So now that I've paid my entry fee, I've put in my time getting ready for the tournament, everything. I'm not a monster, so it's not like I don't care about you, but like I am here to win. I'm here to
Right.
compete, right? Underneath
No
the
hard feelings.
guys,
You
yeah, underneath those rules and that guys in the competitive sphere, that is where I am and that is what I'm doing. I don't want to ruin anyone's fun playing
Yeah.
Commander, even if it is CEDH. Like, just I don't think it's for me.
Yeah, I mean, although I think you wouldn't like CDH anyway, just because it's so like formula and like solved in certain ways. You're like, okay, well, I got to get to my Thassa combo, or I got to get play ad nauseum, or here's. I mean, it's very stack heavy. It's very intense, but it's also it gets really mathematical. It's like
Sure.
very kind of like formula after a while, and it is still not psychopathy. It's still very chill, but high level chill. I don't know. Maybe Commander doesn't need to be for everyone, and I try to tell people that all the time. Like, it's okay to like be a vintage player or be a legacy player or go and be like, yo, you know what? What I want to do is I want to go and grind cube and just smash people. Good. I want
Yes.
your magic to exist. It doesn't have to all be my magic. It can be all the magic.
See, the great thing about Magic, I never know if it was intended to be this way when it was initially designed, but we are where we are, almost 30 years into this game, which is you get in where you fit in.
Mm-hmm.
If you like modern, then just go play modern. If you like Commander, then do that. If you are just like, hey, I just want a booster draft until I can't see straight anymore, then do that, right? Like there's a million different ways to play this same game with all the same cards, but you can figure out the best way that you want to play it that you're the most happy. And that is actually the thing I like about Magic the most, which is, if I don't like Commander, I don't have to play Commander. Doesn't
Right.
mean I have no issue with Commander. It's just not for me. In the same way that I don't like beans. If you like beans, good for you. That's awesome. I don't like them, so I'm not going to eat them. Okay. There's nothing
Fair.
wrong with that.
Fair.
Yeah.
100% fair.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not going to make fun of you because you like beans or you like Commander. I don't like those things aren't for me. And enjoy your beans.
I am happy to see you happy doing the thing you want to do. You don't have to do the thing I want you to do. We could both live together and enjoy these cards in a different way.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a good place to bring this to a landing. Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. It's been an honor. I feel like it's always weird to do interviews with people who I'm a big fan of because those interviews end up just being me being like, "You're so cool," but you really are so cool, and I'm really grateful that you were able to take the time to join me today.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. It's a long time in the making, as I mentioned, so I'm glad I was finally able to get.
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
yeah, so now it's on to it's on to the work emails, I guess.
Yeah, so if people wanted to find you or your stuff or your store, where could they go?
All right. So if you want to find me, I'm most active on Twitter. My handles everywhere is at Cedric A. Phillips. Again, most active on Twitter, but also that's me on Instagram. That's me on Twitch. That is me on what is it, Meta now? I don't. I
Yeah,
don't. I don't log.
Facebook.
Yeah, I don't really log on there anymore. But that's where you can find me for basically everything. If you want to shop at Coalesce Apparel and Design, you can head over to www.coalesceapparel.shop and browse the wares, see if you find something you like. You can use Shivam's promo code
Yeah, you
if
could
you
use
want.
my code casual and get 10% off. Or no,
There you
casual
go.
magic. That's a code.
Yeah,
Casual
it's
magic.
important to know the code. It's casual magic for
I
10%
write it in the
off.
notes. People figure it out and they'll
Okay.
see it.
You can use that to get 10% off on checkout. You can buy Shivam's shirt or a sticker because we have them both back in stock now because we just did a
Yes.
reload. And we're going to be doing more reloads and releasing more new stuff in at least one new design in July. Spoiler alert. So, yeah, and you can find Coalesce at Coalesce AD on all of the things, most notably on Twitter as well. So, I guess
Sweet.
those are all the places you can find me. The place where you cannot find me, because I do not go on there, is Reddit. So don't look for me on there
Hell no.
because
I
you
know
won't find me
better.
on there.
Anyways, you can always find me at Gear Report Gears. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold or at Cool Stuff Inc. every Tuesday or at YouTube sometime after Tuesday. This show is brought to you by Cool Stuff, Coalesce Apparel, and Architect. And remember, my friends, it is not magic without the gathering, and we will see you next time.